Welcome back, babes. To all the mothers out there, we hope you had an amazing day.
Yes, it's Sunday evening,
Yeah.
and babes, the wine is flowing. We've survived another Mother's Day, and babes, we are back.
Because, babes, this episode had us ready to lock every door, turn every light on, and emotionally relocate and maybe move back in with our mothers to escape the chaos.
Honestly, yes. But before we, pull the deadbolts and hide under the blankets, let me just ask you this to everyone listening right now. What if the monsters hunting you in the dark aren't the apex predators at all?
Ah, don't even start with that yet. My heart rate is already spiking.
No, I mean it. What if they are just the hunting dogs for something far, far worse? Keep that horrifying thought in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
But for right now, the rosé is poured, the doors are locked, and we are sitting here in our Sunday night fortress of solitude.
We really are. And honestly, you've all had an amazing day. You survived the weekend, you navigated all those messy family dynamics, and you deserve to just sit back with us.
We all deserve this.
We do. And speaking of things we deserve, can we just take a massive, emotionally vulnerable tangent for a second?
I feel like I know exactly where this is going.
Because I am still fundamentally altered by that viral crab rangoon dip we just ate in the kitchen. I am not okay.
It was a religious experience.
My soul has literally left my body. It heals emotional wounds.
I am attempting to remain composed and professional right now, but the structural integrity of my self-control has been shattered by that dip. It is like a masterpiece of culinary engineering.
I took one bite, and I swear I felt my childhood traumas knitting themselves back together. It's the texture, you know?
Absolutely.
It's that unbelievable, unapologetic contrast. You have the crispy, perfectly golden, salty crunch of those thick wonton chips.
Yes.
And then it just gives way to this warm, velvety cream cheese heaven. Why are cream cheese-based foods the ultimate emotional support?
It's science.
It's like a weighted blanket for your nervous system. You take a bite, and the world just stops hurting for 3 seconds. I could cry thinking about it.
Well, let's break this down analytically, because the genius of that specific dip is the ratio.
The ratio was everything.
Exactly. Because most crab dips fail spectacularly, right?
Yeah.
They're overly ambitious with the seafood. They try to pack too much crab in, and you are left with this watery, fishy, uncohesive mess that slides right off the chip.
Ugh, the worst. Just a sad, wet chip.
But this recipe, it respected the structural integrity of the cream cheese. The crab-to-cream cheese ratio was scientifically flawless.
Flawless. And the garlic powder.
Yes. And the slight, sharp tang of the scallions cutting through the overwhelming richness. Absolute art. I am sitting here right now speaking into this microphone, acting like I am fine, but I would violently fight someone in a dark alley to eat that entire bowl again right now.
I would help you hide the body. I really would. Food makes me so emotional. And that was, the warmth, the tiny hint of soy sauce, it just wraps you up.
It really does.
But the reality is setting in. The sun has gone down. The rosé bottle is halfway empty. And, babes, it's almost Monday.
Do not say the M word in this sanctuary, please.
I have to. We have to face it together. Work is looming, and honestly, it is not a vibe.
It is aggressively not a vibe.
You know we love being dentists. We really do. We spent years in school for it. We care deeply about our patients.
It's an essential healthcare profession.
It is, but looking at teeth all week, staring into the dark, damp, anxiety-filled abyss of human mouths for 8 hours a day, it is draining my life force.
The sheer psychological toll of telling adults to floss, knowing they are lying right to my face when they say they do.
They lie so easily.
The betrayal. Every single day I look into a mouth, I see the inflamed gums, I look them in the eye, and they say, oh yes, I floss every night.
Like we can't tell.
The cognitive dissonance I have to endure to just nod and say, keep up the good work, is staggering.
Exactly. So, we've been sitting here on the couch, avoiding our Sunday night dread, and we compiled a list of things we would rather do than go to the clinic tomorrow morning.
We have 5 escape fantasies.
Ready. Number 1, living in a bookstore cafe.
Very aesthetic.
I am romanticizing this so hard. Picture it. It's always raining outside. The lighting is incredibly dim and amber. I am wearing a chunky knit cardigan that somehow never gets coffee stains on it.
Of course not. You're practically a ghost in this scenario.
Right. I don't deal with spreadsheets or insurance claims. I just steam milk, recommend obscure melancholic poetry to lonely travelers, and breathe in the smell of old paper and roasted espresso. No stress, just immaculate vibes.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
But number 2, becoming ghost hunters.
Oh, no.
And I don't mean the highly competent scientific ones. I mean the absolute chaotic ones who run out of the building screaming at a cold draft.
We would be so bad at it.
Realistically, I would be the liability of the team. I try to overanalyze the EMF reader. I would mock the ghost's interior decorating choices from the 1800s.
And you absolutely would insult the wallpaper.
And I would absolutely get possessed on day one because of it. But frankly, it beats doing a molar root canal.
Oh, I would be crying in the van for sure. I wouldn't even go in the house. Okay, number 3. Running a messy, chaotic wine bar.
This one is actually plausible.
Right. Dim lighting, velvet booths that are slightly torn, and we only serve wine that we personally want to drink would be the absolute worst business owner.
Bankrupt in a week.
We'd just sit at the bar, gossiping with the regulars, pouring incredibly heavy glasses, and probably drinking all the profits while a moody jazz playlist loops endlessly.
What a way to go down, though. Number 4. Traveling full-time.
Yes.
Just severing all societal ties, throwing our scrubs in a literal dumpster behind the clinic, and becoming those insufferable people who post photos of a single worn cobblestone in Italy.
With a sweeping, pretentious caption about finding ourselves in the quiet moments, I would thrive. I would find myself so hard. I would buy a linen wardrobe and never look back.
But number 5, and this is where you completely lost the plot earlier in the kitchen.
I didn't lose the plot. It's a solid plan.
Number 5 is becoming mysterious rich people with vague, unsettling hobbies.
It's the dream.
I get genuinely unhinged just thinking about the logistics of this. Because if I wanted to escape, I wouldn't just win the lottery. No, I would fake my own death.
See, this is where you scare me.
It requires absolute precision. A boating accident off the coast of somewhere plausible, maybe Maine. A waterproof go bag, hidden weeks in advance.
You've thought about this way too much.
And then I reemerge in a brutalist mansion in Switzerland under the name Helena, wearing oversized dark sunglasses indoors at all times.
Elena, I love her.
And my vague hobby, funding deep-sea expeditions to find extinct, bioluminescent jellyfish. I don't speak to the press. I only communicate via encrypted telegrams delivered by a terrified butler.
The poor butler.
And most importantly, nobody asks Helena to look at their impacted wisdom teeth.
Okay, I am slightly terrified you're actually going to do it. Like, if you disappear on a Tuesday, I'm just going to assume you're in Switzerland hunting jellyfish.
It's a solid assumption.
But back in reality, we have to survive the week. Highs and lows for the upcoming work week. Let's ground ourselves.
Go for it.
Well, I have a patient tomorrow who has insane dental anxiety, like shaking in the chair anxiety. And I am nervous because as an empath, I take on all their emotional energy.
It's exhausting.
It really is. I spend the whole hour trying to soothe them, making sure they feel safe, and by the end of it, my nervous system is completely fried. I end up exhausted by noon.
My low is simply the structural reality of the calendar. The sheer volume of Mondays that exist in a single human year is oppressive.
It's a design flaw in the universe.
Truly. But my high, the tiny routine that keeps my sanity tethered to this earth, my 10:15 a.m. iced oat milk latte, it is the one beacon of light in a sea of plaque and scheduling conflicts.
That, and the fact that we are mentally clinging to this glass of rosé right now to build a fortress against the morning alarm.
The Sunday night rosé fortress is essential for survival.
It is. So, babes, pour yourself another glass, snuggle into the couch. Because it is time to leave our real-world dental problems behind and get into the absolute unadulterated mess that is Fromville.
Let's do it.
We're getting into Season 4, Episode 4, titled of Myths and Monsters. And I mean, wow.
It was a lot.
It was so much. And before we even start the recap, let's establish our mission for tonight. We need to figure out one central question, Ryan. Are the residents actually trapped in a static temporal loop that they can break, or is the town actively manipulating their psychological realities to keep them compliant?
Because tonight's show is entirely about desperation and the illusion of control.
Yes.
And nothing screams illusion of control quite like the opening scene. Let's start with an actual miracle. A cosmic event of unprecedented proportions that breaks every single rule this town has operated under for years.
I was shocked.
Boyd, Ellis, Jade, Donna, Henry, and Tabitha are all gathered at the sheriff's office. And what are they doing? They're actually talking to each other.
They're sharing information.
I was standing in my living room slow clapping. 4 seasons of people hoarding secrets like dragons hoarding gold. And we finally have a functional town meeting.
I was so emotional. It felt like a fever dream, seeing them all in one room, not like hiding in corners.
Right.
Well, let's set the stage for why they are gathered. They are discussing the discovery of the man in yellow suit, the MIY suit. And the camera just sits on Henry.
Poor Henry.
Henry is reeling. He is absolutely fracturing in real time because his dead wife Miranda painted this exact guy in a yellow suit for 40 years in the basement of their real-world home.
It's devastating.
He is having a complete existential breakdown, realizing that his wife's supposedly crazy artwork was essentially a documentary of this nightmare realm.
Well, to understand Henry's reaction, we really have to look at the psychology of his grief, right? For 40 years, his coping mechanism was believing his wife suffered from severe schizophrenia or artistic psychosis.
That was the only way he could handle it.
Exactly. That was the only way he could categorize her behavior to keep his own world stable. Now he's standing in a dirty sheriff's office, looking at the physical evidence that she was right.
She wasn't crazy.
No. The boy in white, the yellow suit, the nightmarish town, it's all tangibly real. His entire paradigm of reality is collapsing.
It's so sad.
But while Henry is having this profound internal crisis, let's talk about the absolute shade and audacity happening on the other side of the room.
Oh my God, I was getting so heated. I was literally screaming at the television.
Tabitha.
Yes, Tabitha. She was standing there, side-eyeing Henry when he brings up the boy in white. She is giving him this intense look of, oh, really? You're bringing this up now.
The judgment was palpable.
Meanwhile, Tabitha is literally withholding the biggest, most crucial secret of all. She actively has Miranda's memories. She went through Miranda's trauma.
She did.
And she is standing there, judging Henry for being overwhelmed, while completely gatekeeping the plot.
Ma'am, you need to open your mouth and start speaking your truth. You are the missing link.
Okay, I am going to push back on you here just a little bit because we need to look at the neurobiology of Tabitha's trauma.
Okay, Mr. Analytical, go ahead.
Analytically speaking, Tabitha isn't just being stubborn, okay? She is in a state of profound psychological dissociation. She is suppressing an apocalyptic level of trauma.
I mean, true. Think about her timeline. She lost her youngest child before arriving in from Melville. She recently lost Jim. She fell out of a magical lighthouse, woke up in the real world, and then realized her entire childhood subconscious was hijacked by a dead woman's soul.
It's a lot for one person.
If she admits out loud to Henry that she has Miranda's memories, she breaks the dam. It becomes real. She loses whatever fragile, compartmentalized grip she has on reality, and she feels she has to stay sane to protect Ethan and Julie.
I hear your logic, I really do, and my heart breaks for her as a mother. I get it. But you are in a town where trees teleport you across dimensions and monsters smile at you while pulling your ribs apart.
Fair point.
The time for compartmentalization is over. Stop suppressing. Just trauma dump on the group so you guys can solve the puzzle. Your silence is a liability.
You're not wrong about the liability part.
But thank God for Ellis. Sweet, beautiful, pragmatic Ellis asks the real question, the only question that matters. He looks at this empty yellow suit, looks at the group, and goes, okay, if we have the yellow suit here, where is the naked demon who wore it?
It is a phenomenal, terrifying point. It is the logical progression that everyone else was too emotionally compromised to see.
Seriously.
If the suit is buried in the dirt, the entity that wore it didn't just evaporate. It is walking around in a new skin, which, spoiler alert, we know is Sophia.
Sophia.
But the sheer logistical terror of the characters realizing there's a shape-shifting, ancient predator walking amongst them completely unnoticed. It changes the genre of the show from survival horror to paranoia thriller.
It really does.
But instead of focusing on mapping out a strategy to find the shapeshifter, Jade decides to bypass logic entirely and dive straight into aggressive alternative medicine.
The transition from the town meeting to Jade's storyline was so jarring and chaotic. We go from a logical discussion about a shapeshifter to Jade casually revealing he found some bizarre glowing magic mushrooms in the haunted forest.
Right near the terrifying bottle tree, no less.
Exactly. And his brilliant scientific theory is that eating them will unlock his past incarnation memories so he can read the symbols.
Flawless logic.
Donna is standing there, furious. She is giving him the mother of all glares, radiating absolute judgment. But Boyd he allows it because they are running out of time.
Let's analyze the sheer, unadulterated recklessness of Jade's actions here. In any survival scenario, consuming unidentified flora is a death sentence.
Basic survival 101.
But this isn't just a regular forest. This is a biome that actively generates nightmares. And Jade doesn't just microdose to test his tolerance. He doesn't take a little nibble to monitor his vitals.
No, he goes all in.
He stands there, looks Boyd dead in the eye, and scarfs down 3 massive supernatural forest mushrooms all at once. It defies every principle of self-preservation.
3 of them. He chewed them like they were stale potato chips. I was hyperventilating on the couch.
Because it unhinged.
You do not know what kind of magical, demonic fungi grows in Fromville. The root systems of those trees are probably fed by the blood of the people who died there.
Almost certainly.
You could trip so hard your soul literally detaches from your body and gets trapped in a music box. It's not just a bad trip, it's a spiritual hijacking.
It is the ultimate Hail Mary. And what's truly fascinating here is what this moment reveals about Boyd's leadership decay.
Oh, good point.
Boyd essentially breaks his own moral code here. For 4 seasons, Boyd has been the bastion of rules, safety protocols, and caution.
He's always the sensible one.
Right. By letting Jade eat the mushrooms, Boyd is silently admitting, look, we've been playing by the rules for years, we still don't know how the town works, and I'm out of ideas. Eat the poison, Jade. Let's see what happens.
It's so dark.
It's absolute desperation disguised as a tactical strategy.
Boyd is so exhausted, he's basically outsourcing the town's survival to a psychedelic trip. It's wild. But speaking of Jade, we have to talk about his incredibly frustrating conversation with Tabitha right before the mushroom incident.
Oh, this infuriated me.
Tabitha comes to Jade to talk about her son, Ethan. Ethan has been talking to Ghost Jim on that broken, static-filled radio, and Ghost Jim told him they need to find something called the Lake of Tears.
Crucial lore drop.
And how do Tabitha and Jade react to this vital piece of lore? They completely dismiss it. They patronize him and call it Ethan's escapist imagination. I was losing my absolute mind.
The hypocrisy is staggering. It is a masterclass in cognitive dissonance.
It truly is. Let's look at the facts. Jade is currently hallucinating bloody symbols in the sky and preparing to eat magical forest drugs to speak to the dead.
Right.
Tabitha fell out of a lighthouse, woke up in a hospital in the real world, and then walked back into Fromville through a magic tree in a basement.
Normal Tuesday stuff.
Exactly. But a magical lake. A lake of tears. That is where Tabitha firmly draws the line of belief. She's like, oh no, honey, lakes aren't magical. That's just a silly fairy tale. Make it make sense.
It doesn't.
How can you accept teleporting trees but reject a mystical body of water?
It boils down to parental arrogance and the glass child syndrome. Because Ethan is a child, Tabitha automatically assumes his reality is filtered through the lens of a coping mechanism.
She doesn't trust him.
She views his visions as fantasy, whereas she views her own trauma as hard reality. They don't respect him as an equal participant in this nightmare, which is incredibly dangerous because children in folklore and horror are almost always the truest conduits for the supernatural.
Because they believe it.
They lack the adult filters that block out the truth. But while Tabitha is busy dismissing Ethan's very real supernatural intel, Julie is out in the woods running her own rogue quantum physics experiments with Randall.
Okay, the dynamic duo of emotional damage, Julie and Randall. They are sitting around reading through Ethan's fantasy books, specifically a book called The Adventures of the Grand Gulagog.
Such a ridiculous name.
I know, but within this children's book, they find a character named Storywalker Fred. He's an elevator repairman who uses bookmarks to travel backward and forward through the chapters of time.
First of all, the visual contrast is high art. You have Randall, this aggressive, volatile, fiercely independent guy who lived on a bus and fought monsters with his bare hands sitting in the dirt, intensely analyzing a children's book about a Grand Gulagog and an elevator repairman.
That's so funny.
It's absurd, but it's brilliant because they actually use it to formulate an incredibly solid working theory about temporal mechanics.
But before we dive into the dense physics of their theory, can we take a moment to talk about Julie's makeover?
If we must.
She takes a knife and just chops all her long hair off into this jagged, short bob so the monsters can't grab it. I mean, from a practical standpoint, yes, survival 101.
Absolutely.
But I am an emotional creature, and watching her hack off her hair felt incredibly heavy. It felt like a ritualistic severing of her ties to her old, normal life. She is accepting that she might never go to prom, she might never go to college. She is going full warrior mode. It was beautiful and tragic.
I'm going to throw some tactical shade here, though.
Oh, here we go.
If she was fully committed to the combat advantage, she wouldn't have stopped at a cute, messy bob. She would have shaved it completely bald, full Ripley in Alien style, just like Randall.
You are so mean.
They could be the bald, aerodynamic twins running through the woods, completely ungrippable by demonic claws.
Go hard.
Or go home, Julie.
You are so ruthless. She is a teenage girl. Let her have a little bit of aesthetic dignity while fighting for her life. She looks cute.
Cute doesn't stop monsters.
Whatever. But, okay, let's talk about the actual experiment. Julie's theory relies on finding a physical anchor. She believes that if she draws an X on a piece of paper, Story walks through the ruins into the past, drops the paper on the ground in that past timeline, and then returns to the present, the paper will be gone from her hand.
Right.
It proves she successfully tethered to that past timeline and physically altered it. It's a bookmark.
It's the exact same logic as the spinning top in Inception. In a reality where your own mind and the environment are constantly deceiving you, you need an objective physical anchor to prove the temporal jump is permanent and real.
Exactly.
You need to test the Novikov self-consistency principle. Can the past be altered, or is it a closed loop?
Uh-huh.
So she walks into the ruins, and Randall is standing there watching her.
And this is where it gets crazy.
This is where the subjective reality splits. From Randall's perspective in the present, she hasn't gone anywhere. She is just standing there having a brutal, violent seizure on the ground.
Terrifying.
But from Julie's perspective, her consciousness, and possibly her physical form, jumps back to the exact day of the town massacre.
I was clutching my wine glass so hard it almost shattered in my hand. The visual direction of this scene was pure, visceral terror. The sky is this dull, oppressive, suffocating gray.
The color grading was amazing.
The Star Magic Motel sign is fully intact and glowing, anchoring us in the past. And standing out against all that muted gray is this bright, blinding canary yellow suit. It is the man in yellow.
The MIY.
And he is crouched over a resident on the pavement, just feasting on their liver. The stark contrast of the dark red blood against the bright yellow fabric. The wet, crunching sounds. I was physically gagging on my couch.
It was undeniably one of the most grotesque, unflinching things the show has ever put on screen. But what fascinated me analytically is the specific interaction between the man in yellow and Julie.
Oh, wait, yes.
Think back to the season premiere. When the MIY taunted Julie, he acted like they had a long, intimate history. He smiled at her. He knew exactly how to push her buttons. He enjoyed her fear.
They're so creepy.
But here, in the past, he looks up from the body, sees Julie standing there, looks genuinely shocked for a fraction of a second, and immediately lunges at her like a mindless wild animal. He didn't taunt her. He didn't smile.
Wait, oh my God, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?
Yes, I am suggesting that we are dealing with non-linear time travel.
Yeah.
Chronologically, for the man in yellow, this is the very first time he is ever seeing Julie.
Oh my God.
He doesn't know who this strange girl is appearing out of thin air in the middle of his massacre. He just sees fresh meat interrupting his meal.
Yeah.
This completely recontextualizes the premiere.
It changes everything.
It proves that time travel is happening, but the timelines are intersecting out of order. The MIY from the premiere has already lived past this massacre moment. He remembers her appearing here, and that's why he acts like he knows her in the future.
That gives me full body chills. The timeline is a twisted pretzel. But the tragedy of this scene is that Randall yanks her out of her seizure just in the nick of time, pulling her back to the present before the MIY can rip her throat out.
A very close call.
She is gasping for air, traumatized. But when she slowly opens her hand to check the paper, it is completely blank. The bookmark failed. She didn't leave the mark in the past. It was devastating.
A total failure.
She risked her sanity, witnessed a literal massacre, almost died, and got zero tactical advantage from it. The timeline refused to be altered.
It proves that brute forcing the timeline doesn't work. The town's architecture is too strong. But while Julie is actively trying to rewrite the past and failing, Sophia is quietly, methodically rewriting the present.
Ugh, Sophia.
We leave the loud, bloody horror of the massacre, and we enter the quiet, psychological, suffocating horror of Sara's house. Sophia, who we know is the ancient man in yellow wearing the stolen skin of a teenage girl, has successfully infiltrated the inner circle and moved in with Sara.
This is diabolical, sociopathic 4D chess. Sophia is sitting alone in the room, meticulously going through Pastor Dunn's old letters.
Wait, can we pause for a tiny linguistic detail?
Please do.
The pastor's last name is Dunn, D-U-N-N-E. In Gaelic, that translates directly to dark.
See, the writers are so messy and deliberate for that. I love it.
So Sophia is studying his handwriting, his cadence, his memories to perfectly construct her fake backstory. She's building her alibi layer by layer.
It is the ultimate infiltration strategy.
Think about the BITE model of cult control: behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. She has deliberately isolated herself with Sara, who is objectively the most vulnerable, ostracized, and psychologically fragile person in the entire town.
They're just desperate for redemption and connection.
And once Sophia has her isolated, the mind games begin. Sophia starts chanting this low, guttural, ancient spell, and suddenly Sara drops to her knees in agony. The voices are back.
I felt so sick to my stomach for Sara. She has fought so incredibly hard to claw her way back to some semblance of peace, to prove she isn't a monster, and now these demonic voices are screaming in her head again.
Awful.
But the task they command her to do is so confusingly weird. They don't tell her to kill anyone. They tell her to go to the diner, pour water from a pitcher into a glass, drink it, and then pour the remaining water back into the communal pitcher. That's it.
It's entirely mundane. Which is exactly what makes it so incredibly sinister.
Yeah.
It's not about the water. Sara runs out of the house in an absolute panic, desperate to avoid doing it. And she runs to the church where she bumps right into Elgin.
Let's just sit with the suffocating awkwardness of this encounter for a second. Sara is the literal reason Elgin got a screwdriver driven through his eye socket.
The tension was thick enough to cut with a chainsaw.
But Elgin, sweet, naive, endlessly forgiving Elgin, listens to Sara panic and cry about the voices and the water, and he looks at her and actually says out loud, "How is water going to hurt anyone?"
I absolutely roasted Elgin for this. I yelled at my television screen, "Sir, look at your life.
He's so clueless.
You were manipulated by a rotting ghost kimono woman in your dreams to kidnap a pregnant woman, which led to the birth of a demon baby, and you lost your eye in the process.
Literally.
Respect the supernatural consequences. Do not apply real-world physics to a demonic contamination plot. If the haunted, shape-shifting town says the water is bad, the water is bad."
He is too pure for this hellscape, and his optimism is going to get him killed. So Sara, trying to be strong, trying to break her cycle of compliance, refuses to do it. She resists the voices. She thinks she's winning a moral victory.
And this is where Sophia plays her absolute masterstroke. A lesser villain would attack Sara physically. A lesser villain would scream or threaten.
Right.
Sophia does none of that. Sophia calmly walks outside, stares blankly at the concrete tomb in the empty motel pool, and throws herself directly into the deep end, intentionally snapping her own fake arm upon impact.
My jaw unhinged. The manipulation is so profoundly dark, I am terrified of Sophia's predator in the house energy.
It's chilling.
She is playing the helpless victim so flawlessly. Later, Christy and Mari are tending to her broken arm, wrapping it, comforting her, feeling so incredibly bad for this poor, clumsy, innocent teenager who tripped and fell.
And while they wrap her arm, Sophia casually, almost sweetly, tells them the biblical story of Abraham and Isaac. She recounts how God asked Abraham to sacrifice his only son, Isaac.
Such a creepy parallel.
Not because God actually wanted the boy to die, but as a test of absolute, unquestioning subservience. The brilliance of this scene is the framing. Sophia is talking to the nurses, but she is looking right through the walls, directly at Sara's soul.
Yes.
She is telepathically saying, "I don't care about the water. I care that you kneel when I tell you to kneel. And if you don't, I will inflict pain until you do." It breaks Sara completely.
It really does.
Her will snaps. She goes to the diner, she pours the water, she drinks it, she pours it back, contaminating the town supply. Sophia won. She turns Sara back into an agent of chaos without ever laying a finger on her.
It is psychological torture. It is coercive control at its most horrifying. And speaking of people doing incredibly questionable things under extreme psychological distress, we need to pivot and talk about Fatima's arts and crafts project up in the colony house attic.
Calling it arts and crafts is the understatement of the century. Fatima has Elgin hauling hundreds and hundreds of pounds of wet dirt up 3 flights of stairs so she can build a massive, towering mud statue in the dark.
She is building a golem. For those who don't know, a golem is a creature from Jewish folklore, specifically tied to 16th century Prague. It's a giant made of inanimate matter, usually clay or mud, that is brought to life through mystical incantations to serve as a protector of a persecuted community.
Right.
Fatima confesses to Boy that she feels this intense, suffocating, two-way psychic umbilical cord connecting her to the smiley creature she birthed. It feeds on her fear. It likes it. She can feel it mocking her.
It's a horrible violation.
So building this massive mud giant is her way of reclaiming her power. She is trying to build a physical protector to make herself feel strong when she feels so violated. I honestly romanticize her desperation here. She lost her bodily autonomy, and she is fighting back the only way she knows how.
Okay, I appreciate the psychological coping mechanism. I understand the need to externalize her trauma into a physical protector.
Okay.
But logistically,
Oh no, here comes the logic.
let's analyze the sheer liability of this endeavor from a structural standpoint. You're on the top floor of a rotting, century-old wooden house with compromised floorboards. You are mixing hundreds of pounds of dense dirt with gallons of water.
It is a lot of mud.
The sheer weight. The water damage alone. Kenny is downstairs in the living room dealing with literal mud leaking through the ceiling. Poor, exhausted Kenny is just trying to run the house and keep morale up, and he walks upstairs to find a traumatized, mud-covered woman sculpting a terrifying, faceless demon in the dark.
Okay, yes, from Kenny's perspective, it looked incredibly sinister. The dim lighting, her hands caked in thick mud, the manic, desperate look in her eyes, it gave me the creeps.
It was straight out of a horror movie.
But I want her to win. I want the golem to come alive and punch Smiley in his terrifying face. But let's pivot from Fatima's desperate anger to someone who is absolutely drowning in sorrow. We need to talk about Victor.
The emotional anchor of the episode.
Yeah.
Henry, desperate to connect with the son he hasn't seen in 40 years, tries to enter Victor's world.
So sweet.
He helps Victor count the steps between the teleporting trees. They map it out and discover it's exactly 23 steps, which is significantly shorter than before, meaning the trees are moving faster, the cycle is accelerating, the town is closing in on itself.
This scene completely shattered me. Victor, who has been emotionally stunted since he was a child, finally opens up to his dad. He digs up these old, crinkled, faded drawings that he intentionally hid away because the memories were too traumatic to process.
The trauma is so deep.
And he finally tells Henry the truth about the man in yellow. He says the MIY wasn't always a monster stalking the woods. He arrived in a car, just like everyone else. He pretended to be a normal, terrified resident. He integrated into the town. He pretended to be their friend.
The betrayal of trust is the core horror of Fromville. It's not just that things want to kill you, it's that they make you love them first.
And then Victor reveals the final piece of the puzzle. On the night of the massacre, Victor hid. But when he came out, he found the man in yellow by the bottle tree, and the MIY was eating his mother, Miranda.
The acting in this scene deserves every award. Robert Joy, playing Henry, his physical reaction to this news, he looked like his soul was just violently ripped out of his chest cavity.
It was so hard to watch.
Think about the tragedy of this man's life. He spent 40 years thinking his wife abandoned him because she was crazy. Then he finds out the town is real, and he thinks she was a mystical prophet. Only to finally learn the brutal truth, she was simply butchered by a shape-shifting monster pretending to be a friend. It strips all the grand destiny away and leaves nothing but brutal, animalistic murder.
I was crying into my wine glass. The emotional weight of that revelation is crushing. And then, as if the emotional damage wasn't enough, the show throws Boyd's storyline at us to really mess with our heads.
Oh, the ring.
Let's talk about the ring. Boyd is sitting alone, looking at his late wife Abby's wedding ring. And we get a massive close-up. It has an infinity symbol engraved inside it.
Which is not a subtle thematic clue. The infinity loop. The closed time loop. The inescapable cycle of violence.
Exactly. But then, Boyd is walking through Colony House, and a ring, the exact same ring, identical in every way, literally rolls down the wooden stairs out of nowhere and stops at his feet.
So weird.
He picks it up, completely bewildered. He takes it back to the sheriff's station, puts it on the wooden table right next to the original ring in the velvet box. He stares at them, trying to make sense of it, and the new ring just vanishes. Poof. Gone. Like it was never there.
I spiraled so hard on the mechanics of this scene. Let's look at the two possibilities. Option one, the medical reality. Is it Boyd's Parkinson's disease? We know severe hallucinations and dementia-like symptoms can be a part of the disease's late-stage progression.
Oh, that's sad.
Is his brain literally breaking under the insurmountable pressure of leading this town? Is his grief manifesting a physical hallucination? Or option two, the quantum reality. Is the town itself bleeding alternate timelines into the present?
Yes, tell me more about that.
Like Schrödinger's ring or multiple cycles overlapping. Did an object from a parallel loop drop into our current timeline, causing a temporal paradox, only to be snapped back out of existence when the timeline violently corrected itself?
That makes my brain hurt in the best, most terrifying way possible. The town is a leaking multidimensional wound. But, babes, we cannot put this off any longer. We have to talk about the ending. We have to talk about the lake.
The climax of the episode, where things go from psychologically unsettling to physically catastrophic.
Yeah.
Tabitha, Donna, Ethan, and Ellis are out on a food-gathering mission near the settlement.
Before the chaos, let's give a quick shout-out to Donna. She pulls Tabitha aside and gives her the ultimate stern CEO mom talk.
She needed it.
She basically tells Tabitha, you are not allowed to leave cryptic suicide notes and go rogue into the woods anymore. You are a mother. Your children need you alive. Act like it. I love Donna so much. She is the grounding force, the absolute bedrock of this entire show.
She's the only reason society hasn't collapsed into cannibalism. But while the adults are talking, Ethan wanders off and finds an injured bird, a nighthawk, specifically.
Squirrel bird.
Right. Now, nighthawks being nocturnal is highly symbolic in a town terrorized by the night. Ethan, clinging to Ghost Jim's advice, insists on taking the bird to the nearby lake, believing the water is the magical lake of tears that will heal it.
They get to the murky water and they gently pour it over the bird. We don't even get to see if the magical healing works because an NPC named Roger, who I swear on my life we have never seen speak a single line of dialogue before, wanders over and finds a massive, thick, algae-covered rope buried deep in the mud next to the lake.
And what does Roger do? What does this absolute background extra, this unnamed red shirt, do in a haunted, shape-shifting demon dimension?
He pulls IT. He grabs the mystery rope and treats it like a competitive game of tug-of-war at a summer camp.
Unbelievable.
He just plants his feet and heaves. And the black water starts bubbling. It's frothing. And then this massive, heavy, industrial-sized net covered in slimy green seaweed slowly breaches the surface.
And as the water drains off the net, you see the silhouettes underneath the seaweed. Bodies. Yeah. Dozens of them.
Yeah.
Tied to scarecrows. The exact same wooden totems we saw the characters using to ward off evil spirits earlier in the season.
Absolute chaotic screaming in my living room. I threw my blanket. I spilled my rosé on the rug. Who pulls a random submerged rope in a murder lake?
I was standing up yelling about horror movie protocol. You do not disturb submerged mystery ropes in a town where the trees teleport you and the music boxes kill you in your sleep.
You just don't.
Roger has doomed them all. The arrogance of man.
Which is the absolute perfect transition into our first segment of the night, babes. It is time for Most Likely to Get Us Killed.
The premise is simple and brutal. Which character made the absolute worst, most liability-inducing survival decision this week? Who is the architect of their own demise?
My nominee is obviously Roger the NPC. Roger, honey, look at me. What were you thinking? You are in a town where the environment actively hunts you.
Yep.
You see a mystery rope disappearing into murky, bubbling, foul-smelling demon water.
Yeah.
What do? You leave it alone. You walk away. You do not plant your feet and heave it out of the depths like you're fishing for a prize-winning marlin.
He really leaned into it.
He is going to get everyone slaughtered by whatever swamp scarecrow zombies were attached to that net. His curiosity is a weapon of mass destruction.
While Roger's lack of basic self-preservation is astounding, my nominee for Most Likely to Get Us Killed is Elgin.
Really? Sweet knitting Elgin over the guy pulling up a net of corpses.
Yes. Listen to my logic. Elgin, looking at Sara, a known supernatural conduit who has literally carved words into her own skin under demonic influence and saying out loud, how is water going to hurt anyone, is the absolute pinnacle of lethal ignorance.
I mean, it was a bad moment.
In Fromville, if a ghost tells you to touch a napkin, that napkin will probably combust and burn down the diner. Elgin's relentless, naive optimism is a biological liability. You cannot apply real-world physics to a demonic contamination plot. You should have slapped that pitcher out of Sarah's hand and set the water on fire, just to be safe.
Okay, I have to defend Elgin's optimism. He is a sweet boy. He just wanted to comfort Sara in her moment of panic. He doesn't want to live in constant, suffocating paranoia. He's trying to hold on to his humanity and see the good in the world.
His humanity is going to get his remaining eye poked out with another screwdriver. Paranoia is the only valid currency in Fromville. Optimism is how the monsters get inside the house.
You are so ruthless, but honestly, you're not wrong. Cognitive dissonance kills. Okay, guys, pour another heavy splash of wine, because it is time for segment 2, Theory Spiral Hour. We are getting chaotic. What are the wildest, messiest theories about the deep lore revealed this week?
Theory number 1, the food chain. This one kept me up staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m.
Ooh, let's hear it.
We've always assumed the night creatures, Smiley, and the rest of the walking, smiling monsters were the apex predators of this biome. But let's look at the ecological evidence we received today.
Okay.
In Season 3, we saw a terrifying flashback of Smiley chasing Miranda down the woods. But Victor just revealed that the man in yellow was the one who actually ate her.
Wait, think about what that implies.
Exactly. What if Smiley isn't hunting for his own sustenance? What if the smiling creatures are just the hunting dogs?
Oh my God.
They are the hounds. They chase down the prey, they terrorize them, they play with them, they break their spirits, and then they deliver the bodies to the real boss, the man in yellow, or whatever ancient deity he represents for the actual feast.
That makes so much sense.
It fundamentally changes the entire hierarchy of the monsters. They're at the top of the food chain. They're just the demonic delivery boys.
That is so incredibly dark. That makes the man in yellow so much more terrifying because it means there is a structured, intelligent ecosystem of evil.
Exactly.
Okay, theory number 2, the bleeding stories. This comes from Julie's conversation with Randall. Julie theorizes that Fromville doesn't exist in a vacuum. It leaks into the real world.
The book connection.
Right, that the author of the Grand Gulagog didn't invent story walking out of thin air, but actually dreamed of Julie doing it in the past and wrote it down as fiction.
It's a fascinating Jungian psychic feedback loop. The collective unconscious.
I am romanticizing this theory so much. The idea that this town is like an ancient, leaking psychic wound on the fabric of reality. It bleeds its horrors, its magic, and its events out into the subconscious minds of artists, writers, and dreamers in the real world.
It's very poetic.
That's why the fairy tales, the scarecrows, the golems, the nursery rhymes, they aren't just random myths the town copies. They are fragmented memories of this place that escaped into our world centuries ago. It makes the town feel so massive and ancient. It's the origin point of all human fear.
It beautifully connects to the idea of universal consciousness and shared mythology. I love the scale of it. But let's bring it back to the immediate, terrifying physical threat. Theory number 3, the scarecrow net. What the hell is actually in that lake?
Yes. What is it? Please give me a logical explanation that doesn't involve zombies.
I have 2 hypotheses, and neither of them are pleasant.
Of course not.
Hypothesis A, the dark reality. We know Ethan firmly believes the lake is an exit or a mystical healing pool. What if previous residents from a past cycle, maybe decades ago, thought the exact same thing?
Oh, no.
What if they thought the lake was a portal home, so they tied themselves together with that massive rope so they wouldn't get separated in the portal, dove in together, and just drowned?
That is awful.
Because it's just a lake, and the net is just hauling up their waterlogged, rotting corpses.
I hate that. I hate that so much. It's profoundly tragic. It turns a magical quest into a mass suicide.
Hypothesis B, the reset mechanism. We know the town operates in cycles of hope and despair. When a cycle ends in a massive massacre, the town has to reset the board for the next batch of cars to arrive.
Right, clean up the mess.
What if the monsters, or the MIY, bundle up all the bodies of the previous cycle in these giant nets, weigh them down with scarecrows, and dump them in the lake to hide the evidence? That net is basically the town's garbage disposal surfacing.
I am officially unwell. Both of those options are horrifying. I was genuinely hoping it was just like magical healing kelp. But no, it's definitely a mass grave of swamp zombies.
Which brings us to segment 3. Who is one breakdown away?
We have to talk about the characters who are barely holding on to their sanity by a literal fraying thread. My focus this week is Boyd.
Oh, poor Boyd.
We touched on this with the Vanishing Ring, but let's look at the man's total psychological burden. He is the sheriff, the mayor, the father figure, the military commander, and the moral compass. He is holding the entire structural integrity of this fragile society on his shoulders.
He is.
And meanwhile, his own reality is literally glitching and vanishing off tables.
He is suffering in complete suffocating silence.
He has to. He can't tell anyone he's hallucinating vanishing rings or seeing ghosts of his dead wife, because if the town thinks Boyd is crazy, the town collapses into immediate anarchy.
They would lose their minds. The illusion of his stability is the only thing keeping panic at bay. He is swallowing his own descent into madness to keep everyone else calm. It is a crushing, toxic weight. He is one bad night, one more hallucination away from a total psychological break.
I completely agree. He is carrying the weight of the world. But my focus for this week is Tabitha. Listen, I get so emotional over Tabitha.
I know you do.
The fandom hates on her for being dismissive of Ethan, but look at her reality. She is hanging on by a microscopic piece of Scotch tape. She is desperately trying to be a grieving widow, a protective mother to an impulsive teenager and a terrified little boy, and she is simultaneously dealing with the existential horror of realizing she carries the reincarnated soul of a murdered woman named Miranda in her brain.
It's severe identity fragmentation. She doesn't know where Tabitha ends and Miranda begins.
Exactly. She has to forcefully compartmentalize to survive the day. That's why she reacts with such intense, almost angry denial to Ethan's magical theories.
It threatens her reality.
If she lets herself believe in the magic of the lake, she has to fully acknowledge the chaotic magic of her own mind. If she fully accepts from Dalesel's rules, she fully accepts Jim is gone forever, and she is a vessel for a ghost. She is just trying to make breakfast and keep her kids breathing. She's one more magical discovery away from shattering completely into a million unfixable pieces.
Which is a perfect, somewhat depressing segue into our final segment of the night. Segment 4, could we survive from?
The ultimate question.
We talk a massive game on this show. We critique their decisions. We analyze the lore. But be brutally honest with yourself right now. If we were on a road trip, our car got a flat tire on that specific road, and we saw the fallen tree and the crows circling, would we survive? Or would we mentally collapse by day 3?
Let's look at our practical skill set, the dentist debate.
Our years of rigorous dental training are utterly laughably useless in a survival scenario. What are we going to do to contribute to the town's defense?
Floss them to death.
Are we pulling Smiley's rotting teeth? Are we offering the man in yellow a complimentary whitening treatment if he spares our lives? Excuse me, Mr. Ancient Demon, your incisors are looking a little stained from the raw livers. Let me just scale that plaque for you. Please don't eat my face.
We highly recommend a custom night guard for all that aggressive jaw unhinging you do when you attack.
Exactly.
You would be completely useless to the town's survival infrastructure, honestly. I would mentally collapse the absolute second the wifey didn't connect on my phone.
You really would.
The minute I couldn't check TikTok to disassociate from my anxiety, I would be done. I would fully romanticize the idea of just hiding in a diner booth forever. I'd put on a little apron, start baking awful dry scones with whatever meager flour rations they have left, and I would refuse to ever look out a window again. Ignorance is bliss.
You would be the terrified diner hermit. I, on the other hand, suffer from a fatal flaw, the delusion of competence.
Oh, big time.
I would try to analytically outsmart the town. I would look at Julie's bookmark experiment and say, no, her quantum methodology was flawed. Let me try it. I have a degree.
You would be so annoying about it, too.
I would march out to the ruins with a clipboard and a pen, try to pull a complex stunt to map the temporal anomaly, and I would immediately, instantaneously get eaten by the bottle tree. First night. Gone. No hesitation.
We would not survive the weekend. We would be the nameless red shirts that die in the blurry background of episode 1, while the main cast is having a dramatic argument in the foreground.
We'd be the cautionary tale Donna tells the next batch of arrivals. Don't be like the dentist. They try to negotiate with the trees.
Oh, babes, we are a total mess. But we are your mess. Thank you so much to the Snark Squad for ending your Sunday night dread with us, for sharing the Résé vibes, and for hanging out with us to let us spiral out of control over the absolute chaotic masterpiece that is this show.
But before we officially sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on this week. We talked about Ethan finding that nighthawk bird, and we treated it like a symbol of hope.
Right.
But if you dig into deep Appalachian folklore, a nighthawk seen during the daylight hours isn't a symbol of healing. It is said to be a human soul that has just successfully stolen a body. Sophia might not be the only ancient thing that infiltrated the town today.
Oh my God, stop it. I am not sleeping tonight. Guys, we have 3 questions for you, the third bestie in the room. We want to read your most unhinged answers in the comments. Question 1. What are your wildest, most chaotic theories about what is actually in that net Roger pulled out of the lake? Swamp zombies, discarded residents, something worse.
Question 2. What is the ultimate fantasy escape you would rather do than go to work tomorrow? Are you faking your death and moving to Switzerland like Mrs. Helen here? Or are you running a quiet, moody bookstore in the rain?
And question 3. What comfort food actually heals your soul when you're stressed? And be honest, does it beat the legendary crab rangoon dip?
We need to know the culinary truth. Remind yourselves to like, comment, subscribe, and please send in your messy stories, your workplace drama, and your wild theories for future discussions. We absolutely live for them.
So as you prepare to face Monday morning, remember the hard-learned lessons of Fromville. Don't pull strange ropes out of lakes. Don't eat glowing mushrooms you find in the dirt. And for the love of everything holy, don't trust the water. Stay spooky. Stay messy. And we will see you on the Snark side.